Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Let's Play Hearthstone 4. The New Order as Iberian. Let us continue on from last left off. So we're about to finish our new constitution. Like, we're very, very close. Right now we have 19 resources. Like, we can maybe cripple, like, one of these guys soon, if we're lucky. Can I give them any more stuff? Yes. Give them more money, give them more guns. Does that immediately give them stuff? I don't believe so. I think this needs to finish first. So this will give you another 16. I wonder if we can maybe actually, like, crush one of these. Like, 22. If we get this finished, we might be able to at least kill, like, BTA. Okay, we got a bureaucratic audit. Let's go for the contemporary state. A little bit more political power. And we improve stability somewhat, because we're still stable. At least for right now, we're still stable. It is 1966, the year where nothing can go bad. We can add more money to the budget. You know, I'll still do it, just in case. But again, I think this is the final, Hydroelectric general will be installed, so we'll be able to transform the movement of water into electricity. Like, I feel like if we do, like, this has got to be like, congratulations, you've won the mod. You've won Iberia. You finished the dam. It actually was not that difficult whatsoever, honestly. Yeah, but if we can turn this into electricity, I feel like we'd be able to definitely sell that to most, if not all, of Europe. So let's see, what are you guys doing? Burgundy's doing unknown focus, not scary at all. Italy is getting some ports. I don't think really anybody else has any focus trees. You're a management focus. You still have negative 28% stability, so seems pretty bad for you. First day on the job. The countryside outside Girona was unremarkable. The golden fields below and gray cloudy skies above, two absolute colors clashed, occasionally interrupted by a passing landmark. Mario was not the one driving, and the case that he had been set on was light enough to only take him and his partner Alejandro. Wait. Germano was not the one driving, and the case he had been set on was light enough to only take him and his partner Alejandro. AES undercover vehicle could feasibly fit 4 more people, though they were not going to need that many for the arrest. Rules of contact: he has his partner loudly. Possible non-violent: talk first. Violent: shoot first. Use careful discretion. This is possible non-violent, so keep your guns holstered and allow the senior agent, you, to do the talking. His partner stickered. What? Oh, nothing, Ronaldo. I just funny seeing you new agents so diligent. You're about textbook shit. After a while longer on the road, the two men found themselves in their location. A man printing newspapers out of his garage. Not only did he clearly engage in active unauthorized self-publishing, the newspaper was also in Catalan. They most certainly were printed as separate agitation, even though neither Exalia officer could read the language. They were sure all the same. The two men took several copies of the newspaper, destroyed his printing press, and drove off the agitator in handcuffs. When he came home that night, Geronimo reflected on his first day in the AES operative. The agents of his office could handle the case from now on, using their evidence and testimony. But the process would be parallel to the traditional justice system, such as the decree of the Cadilos following the horrific Battle of Barcelona. Despite its flaws, Lumia understood the necessity of the measures and promised himself that he would do what he could in the name of justice going forwards. We do have 15 things we can do. I don't think we need any of this. Let's just abandon the dam right now. Just because why not? Military opinion. Like, honestly, I don't really think any of this stuff is important. Oh, no, this is for Salzier. Oh, when did this change? Let's make the bureaucrats a little bit mad. Settlers, intellectual, bureaucrats. The crease cutting. We will also get to market liberalism. here as well, even though various liberals, Opus Dei, various conservatives. And that means you've probably united this area now in Siberia. It looks like you're part of the Japanese influence, the Japanese sphere. You're now, Boris Yeltsin's now in charge of the West Siberian Republic. And these guys can't really unify because they're all still technically at war with you. And I can't end the war. I'm guessing you really can't do anything until, like, you're not at war anymore? Would be my guess. And a new constitution will be finished in just a moment. The corrected constitution. The new constitution, or at least a draft of it, has been published. Copies have been printed in every newspaper possible, and nearly everyone in Iberia will have seen it by now. It certainly seems that way, based on the stir that we've created in the government and without. There has been dissent within the government, although it is at a level minimal enough to be curbed. It is said that a good compromise leaves nobody happy. According to our political factions, the Constitution was a good compromise. Some argue it went too far, and others not far enough, and there's enough on both sides to ensure that there will be an argument over it for a long time to come. Surely, this is what it'll take, right? Union will last forevermore. Right? Right. Maybe because we didn't get reformism high enough? So we're still at neutral? Okay, let's restrict religious tax exemptions. Okay, Opus Dei appeals. Following the commencement of deliberations, the various sects of the Iberian Council waste no time in launching their proposals for the economy. Discussion will permit that no true progress is on display. Bureaucrats continue to take the floor of the assembly, putting forth nothing but safe and unremarkable economic proposals. The hours progress, the once lively atmosphere of the assembly hall becomes dull and subdued. The deadlock finally broke when a senior member of the technocratic wing speaks up. Gentlemen, he bellows, our union is strained and our economy lies in dangerous disarray. Our chosen partner of trade has all but forsaken us, and our abhorrent protectionism impedes any recovery in trade. We dare to attempt to solve our economic concerns alone, but we are failing. Gentlemen, the way forward is clear. We alone cannot solve our economic question. We must implement policies of liberalization. As the man sits, members of the ties of the Opus Dei and technocratic blocks rise to their feet and issue an organized and thunderous applause, with many of the more liberal elements of the assembly pitching in. Other elements of the council have remained less than enthused. Loud jeers erupted from the opposing wings. Many members shout obscenities towards the opposing side. The coalition finally dies down after several calls of order and the procession resumed. The Opus Dei continues to put forward detailed plans for economic liberalization, free trade and market economy. They argue that despite the loss of state control over economic affairs, the increasingly open Iberian economy will be attractive to investors both international and internal. Furthermore, they go to great lengths and outline the benefits of renewed Iberian presence on the international trade. After lengthy discussion, the Opus Dei concludes their proposals. Next up, the Phalangist, who I don't believe they even have 1% support in the like our little wheel here. I don't know if they matter so much. The Phalangist appeal. Following Opus Dei's proposal for substantial reforms favoring liberalization and an open economy, those opposing spared no time in gathering their response. The prominent leader of the right-wing Phalangist took the floor and delivered his fiery response. Had the liberals and the technocrats been living in a cave for the past 2 decades? It would seem so. Or have simply they forgotten what happened to Iberia when they dare rely on foreign powers. The lone source of our current disaster is the Iberian reliance on foreigners to protect our nation and protect our economy. This must end. This can end. Iberia's path to greatness lies inward. We alone shall be the master of our economic destiny, not the profiteering foreign fat cats. The assembly erupts in a tremendous roar of nationalist and right-wing elements to applaud to counter the liberal ideas. Like the decided commotion dies down, the Phalangists begin to lay out their plan with radical emphasis on upon autocracy and nationalization. The Phalangists propose a lies at Iberia which relies upon itself and itself only. A nation that possesses near unlimited economic control, the area the condition requires to bring Iberia to greatness are within reach. Now we must do to reach out and seize the opportunity. The Iberian Council awaits Cadillo's statements. The economic debates of the Iberian Council rages on for the final day of deliberations. What had originally begun as a broad spectrum of economic proposals are now split into 2 camps, those favoring liberalization and those favoring autarky. The Great Schism has formed within the assembly and no solution has been in sight. Both camps are fervent in their beliefs and firm believers of either camp to be opposing an economic disaster. Tensions run high and any argument to put forth on either side is swiftly met with jeers and counter arguments. The assembly stagnated. The Cadelos grow tired of the endless squabbles and jointly agree the decision that must now be made. The assembly is swiftly called to intermission, and the politicians retreat to their blocks to revise their plans of action. Franco tells you at the assembly hall to seclude room, which to begin to deliberate the proposals which put forth through the assembly. It remains unclear which side the Cadelos support, for the two leaders have thus far only played a role in speculation. So, stronger Cell Zero will improve the economy. The Indecisive Assembly. The Cadelos agree with little deliberation that the time has arrived to allow the Iberian Council to vote upon the economic question, as it requires. The Cadelos emerge on the scheduled room and announce to the Assembly that the time has come to arrange a binding vote. The majority of votes will be required for the approval of the path reform. A brief intermission is called, and the Cadelos retreat to their respective blocks. Franco Cells here waste no time in attempting to whip their votes, largely hoping to sway the more conservative elements to their cause. Many within these blocks remain unconvinced to vote to appease the Cadelos, and plan to vote for true economic paths in which they support. As Franco attempts to steer conservatives to vote for liberalization, and as Salazar attempts to whip votes in his agenda for conservatism, the fate of the economic reforms seem uncertain. At the time of the vote comes, and the liberation murmur of the assembly dies down, the Cadelos call for the votes to begin. The BTA are the first to table the reform, supported by Franco in an attempt to secure the more plausible majority vote. The speaker calls in favor of the proposal to rise. Much of Franco's dismay, the large majority of the conservatives who he had appealed to vote in favor of liberalization refused to rise. The liberalization reform fails to grab a majority. Next, in defiance of Franco's support for the Opus Dei, the Flagists table their target proposal without Franco's support, however. The Flagists obtain a pitiful fraction of the vote. Finally, the Salazarian conservatives table their motion for status quo. Once again, a clear majority rises to their feet in favor of Salazar's status quo. The Iberian Council rests at a standstill, with only the Flagists being decisively defeated. With the voting inclusive drawing onwards towards the night, the Cadelos call voting to a close. Both the leaders are hoping to be able to regroup their support for a later voting date. So we can return to tradition. Then you want to strengthen and reform the council. It's going to be done in one day. Economic liberalism will increase national debt, miss costs and interest rates. More factories is okay. We'll do limited nationalization to begin with. So is there still... Yeah, we're still neutral in this. And you're back for stabilizing Iberia. Okay. Also, how is terrorism doing? We have 27. Not possible, not possible. We could strike at you. I'm going to save just in case. I will read this first. Juan de Marina sat at his desk, lit a single candle, quill in hand. He spent hours writing his treatise. Treaties? The literate classes of Spain ought to be aware that their king had deliberately caused a recent recession, debasing the currency with disastrous consequences in order to enrich himself and his allies. The very tools of political elite deemed necessary to revert the Spanish Empire were instead bringing only its destruction and corruption. Alberto Eutrides, he could not help but imagine de Marina smiling down at him as he organized his notes. Since his heady days of life as a university student, it had been his life's goal to see his country economically liberalized. It is why he taught political economy at his alma mater, for he became an advisor to the Cadelos. It is why he encourages Opus Dei members to involve themselves in politics, and it is why he has done so much to convince Franco that he should be made Minister of Trade. The battle over the future of Iberia's economy has been a protracted one, and the victory of the technocrats was by no means a foregone conclusion, even just a few weeks ago. With the backing of Franco and much of the Iberian intelligentsia, the technocrats overtook intensive lobbying efforts to persuade moderate councillors over to the reformist side. Despite considerable opposition when the council was called to a vote, the law for the economic revitalization of Iberia passed 280 to 217. Euryalus was overjoyed and took to the podium with great confidence. Fellow councillors, today we have placed Iberia in the path of great prosperity. Today we join those nations which by virtue of free trade and competent governance can afford their citizens with the longest and healthiest lives, with the longest and most thorough education, and the most productive workforce in the world. We will work to ensure that our government operates with the greatest efficiency. that it may be best serve the state and its people. Our industry will both be modernized and expanded to remain competitive in an ever-developing world. And our rural communities provided the resources they need to feed our rising population and live just as well as our urban countrymen. We could not be here tonight without the extraordinary leadership and the vision of our Candilos, who lead us to a historic mission to offer the brightest possible future for all Iberians. But I am going to save, because I want to test out if I can actually crush them. And there we go. We've dealt with you. Who's the next weakest? I mean, you're all kind of similar, so let's do a regional crackdown here. But we have struck down the BTA. So that is one terrorist organization that we have completely wiped out the face of the map. Once more into the breach. It was roughly 30 years since the original Asturian communist movement was crushed by Franco and the Foreign Legion. But the embers of revolution still burned. It was those embers that would eventually spark the raging fire, engulfing the forests and hills of Asturias into a never-ending campaign of terror. That era is now over, however. Bitter old miners and workers were no match for brave AES agents. After months and months of sweeping the land, we can safely say that the BTA is no longer a substantial threat. Sympathizers and isolated cells may remain, but this should be the end of them as a cohesive and effective organization. Now that they are free from both communist propaganda and incitement violence, perhaps the mines and factories of the north can return to their usual level of productivity. The birthplace of modern Spain shall prosper in safety once more. Okay, we're still stable. Very good. Is there anything else we can actually do here? Basically, you just support regional nationalists. You know what? Let's do 1 point here. Salazar is still not in charge, so it's not too bad. But I mean, I'm glad we've at least dealt with one situation. Yeah, you're now disbanded. We have 13 resources. So who makes sense to try to target next? Let's strike at you. Strike at you for now. So you still have 8 resources. But if you have the, like these modifiers, then I don't think it's worth spending our resources now. Okay, redirect more military weapons to the AAS. Add more money to the dam budget. And you'll be done in 94 days. So I think 3 months from now, hopefully. Romania has joined up with Germany. Italy has Hungary on their side. Greece, maybe at some point in the future, we'll see. They have gone social democratic. You guys are still fascist. Iraq is just authoritarian democratic, so nothing too crazy there. Like, what's at the very end of this? Lessons to remember. The 2 Extensi operatives walked into the San Sebastian Elementary School, their boots stumping on the floor as they walked. Jamil had a gun, though he kept it holstered. Drawing a gun into school would be a disaster. His partner Alejandro, the senior agent, was carrying a truncheon. While arresting someone they had been teaching a class was poor timing, they had been ordered to bring the man in as soon as possible. The 2 men entered the classroom. "You're under arrest for nationalist agitation," said Alejandro, repeating his mantra in a practiced monotone. He had no sense of subtlety, as his partner wrestled the teacher onto the desk, handcuffed him, and struggled him out of the door. It fell on the ground of the cover for the school children. "Ah!" He looked at them, stepping towards the door, and gave them a small speech. "Your teacher was his boss separatist. That means he wants to destroy Iberia. Look out for anybody who does the same." His words were drawn out by the sound of thrashing and screams to the hallway outside the classroom. As they led the now bloody and bruised man out of the building, Gramado stumbled on the door frame, falling down the steps on the entrance. "What the hell? Pay attention to your surrounding. Gonzalez could be the end of you someday." The junior operative, still in a daze, picked himself up and apologized. On his way back to the station, Germano stared out of the passenger seat of the AES undercover car. The children, their face of horror, watching someone they knew be removed by force. They feared hearing the pounding and screaming from the hallway. He had skinned the teacher's profile before the mission. He was no violent criminal. He did not deserve this. Breaking the silence, the unfazed partner began to chuckle. Hey, the best advice is one that teaches a lesson. Can have more money. I don't think we need them. Well, you know, we might as well throw money at this now, because I don't think we can really be using the money for much else in the future. Because again, I think this is the last one, and we'll be finished. So we're in foreign leaders' opinion, but we can't do that because I think the foreign yeah, because the foreign leaders already don't like us at all. Political power. I mean, here's the thing, like, political power doesn't matter so much. I'm assuming Salazar's probably back in charge right now. No, still not. When does he die? Like, that's my question. Okay, we've done limited nationalization. All that with economic liberalization. And I think for now, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode with the defeat of the BTA. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not doing, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.